Appalachian Trail is pretty good. Some people abbreviate it to the AT, just because it's easier to say. So if you ever hear the AT, that's the Appalachian Trail. It is the largest hiking trail in the world. It is about 2,200 miles long, and it goes from Georgia to Maine. And it also passes through 14 different states. So when we went hiking, we started in Harper's Ferry, which is in West Virginia. But there are lots of different things on the trail that go from beginners to all the way to an expert hiking, I guess. So one of those would be like, if you've ever heard of the roller coaster, which is a very difficult part of the trail. We didn't hike this part, we would have died. It's like, I forget exactly how long it is, but it goes up and it goes down, and it's very difficult hiking. Then there's also Clingman's Dome in Tennessee. It's a big lookout point that you can see really far. And then there's also the Shenandoah National Park in Virginia, and this is where Skyline Drive is, if you've ever heard of that. And that's just a really scenic drive. So like I said, we started hiking in Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. This is just a really nice little town. It was me and my cousins, and then Caitlin's sister, Amanda. And we drove to Harper's Ferry, and then we got on like a little shuttle, and it took us to the stop, and then we hiked basically through this, it was kind of like a little historic town. It's kind of weird. So we hiked through this little town and then up this really steep path, and then we just a couple minutes into the trail, we got to Jefferson's Rock, and this is where, pretty sure Thomas Jefferson was there and did something, but it was just this really big rock, and you could walk out on it and look down into the valley, and there was like a big river and some trees and stuff. And then we kept going on this tiny, tiny trail. It was a little bit muddy because it had rained like a few days before, but that was nice because then it wasn't very hot. So we kept going, and we got to this really big bridge that we hiked across, and then we went down underneath of it and up the mountain. And then Anita went back. Oh, I forgot to tell you who took us. So it was Matt and Anita who took us. And Anita then went back after a couple hours because she had to pick us up then the next day. And so we stopped for some snacks and then kept hiking. And it was pretty much all through the woods, which was nice because it was very cool in the woods, but you couldn't see that much. And then we go hiking pretty much all day until we got to the camp, which is basically this little flat dirt spot with a fire. And we put up our tents and stuff. And then there's also a lot of berries around, and those berries were amazing. So I ate a lot of berries, and then we slept, ate our food, and then we slept. And we woke up at about 6:30 and hiked a while. It was the fastest we had hiked that morning then. And so we hiked to the road, and then we hiked down the road to a gas station to eat lunch, and I forget what I had, but we stopped there for a while. And then we kept going, and we met a couple through hikers, which are hikers that are doing pretty much like the whole trail, or at least part of it. And the one guy we met, he had some cool rocks and stuff. They all had cool stories. And we found another lookout point, which had a lot of like burned trees, almost looked like there had been a forest fire there. And then we kept going until we got to the next point, I guess, which was where we were going to set up our tents again. But we were like all ready to set up, and then Matt was like, you know, we could just go to a hotel. And so we were like, okay. And everybody thinks we just wimped out, but we didn't. The only reason we said yes is because he suggested. So we waited there for a while, and there was a guy who brought us popsicles, and they were delicious. And then Anita came and picked us up, and we went to the hotel, and we got pizza. It was really good. And then we slept, and we got up the next morning and went on one more little hike. We had to drive to it, and then we hiked up to this rock. I forget what it was called, but we were there for maybe like 20 minutes or so. And you could kind of go down underneath the rocks, and it was just really big lookout point, I guess. And then we went home. That was the end.